But when this is more of a skill set that you're just naturally, like, you know what to do, you know what tools to use, you know what supplies to use and what order, that's when this becomes a lot more fun.
You're listening to E-Commerce Uncensored with Kevin Manell and Jason Caruso.
Hey everybody, and thanks for joining us on another episode of E-Commerce Uncensored. This is episode number 176. My name is Kevin Manell, and I'm here with
Jason Caruso.
Before we go any further, Jason, we need to talk about the new intro that everyone just heard on the front end of this podcast.
You just couldn't wait to talk about that, huh?
It's a good thing Jen just texted me and reminded me. She's like, new intro or old intro? I was like, screw that old intro. Let's do the new one. And even though people on Instagram voted for the old one, I like the new one much better. I think it's great.
It's just faster. That's
shorter,
the point.
More to the point. None of that, what did we say? Fully loaded.
And exposed.
I like it. Hope you guys like it.
So today we have a really awesome interview today, right?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this one. I've been listening to Molly Pittman for several years now. Since I first really got into the digital marketing space, I really started listening to her on perpetual traffic, and I obviously on digital marketer. I fell for all their lead magnets. I downloaded their toolkits and all that stuff. So I've been listening to her for a long time.
Yeah, and now she's working with Ezra, who we had on the show. Both really cool people. I really enjoyed both of those. It's interesting how, Kevin, we keep to ourselves, and I mentioned that in this episode. But it's so interesting to talk to some of these people who've been around for a long time, and it just reconfirms we're doing the right things, And sometimes you can second guess yourself. Are you doing the right things? Do you really know what you're doing? Even now, I mean, it's still easy to fall into that trap. As much success as we had, but this episode has really made me realize that we're doing the right things. We just got to stay the course. And
especially when we have clients chirping in our ear trying to tell us differently. Sometimes it can get overwhelming, and I agree with you. Yeah, it just reiterates that we're going in the right direction.
Yeah, so you guys are gonna love this. But before we do, we have to talk about our favorite. And by the way, we talk a little bit about Klaviyo in this episode, and how the back end is really important. And I mean, we say it all the time. I mean, if you listen to this podcast, we say Klaviyo, email. And, right now, we're learning that, Facebook is an awesome tool to get people in the door, but email is what really makes you profitable.
Yeah, it's so easy to get caught in that trap with the Facebook ads. It's like an exciting thing. Get your word out. You see people clicking through. You see people signing up to a download. And it's so easy to say, I want to make this money on Facebook. I want to make my money back. And you fall into that trap. And then you just begin to learn that money is made on the back end through email.
Yeah, and it doesn't discount that you need to learn Facebook, because, we certainly made a ton of money on Facebook. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars in the last few months. But, when you start getting to a point where we are right now, where we're starting to scale out, by the way, I felt a little silly when I told her that we're spending $90,000 a month, and she's like, "Yeah, Boom is spending $30,000 a day." I'm like,
15,000 a day, I think.
No, they scaled out to 30.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I mean, there's definitely money to be made there, but email is, you own your list. No one can ever take it away from you. We always talk about how if you're having a slow day, you can send out an email and make money. And it's exactly what we do. So if you're not using Klaviyo and you're an e-commerce brand, I don't know what you're waiting for. Go over to klaviyo.com/uncensored. Sign up. They allow you to bring 250 subscribers over for free. You can use the platform. And I'm really confident that you're going to love it and bring everybody over.
Yeah, that's klaviyo.com/uncensored. Go check them out.
Yeah. And Also, our Facebook course, I'm getting a lot of amazing feedback. You know, the things that I like hearing most are not like I made $1 million, but I like hearing that I'm teaching the course like nobody else they've heard teach it. That to
Right.
me is the most
After everything
rewarding.
they've heard, they probably think you're crazy. Like, what is this guy talking about? And then they actually put it to motion, and they can see that this is
Yeah,
the truth about
this is
Facebook ads.
this is the truth about Facebook ads. If you go to ecommerceuncensored.com/truth, you can get on our list. I'll send you over a special link that you can sign up for our beta group. It's like a quarter or a third of the price. And yeah, I mean, people are getting some really great results from it, and I'm getting emails all the time, and I just love hearing that the way that it's being taught is very unique. I like that because it means that I'm teaching real shit.
Yeah, it's
So,
awesome.
without further ado, Kev.
All right, it's Molly Pittman. Hey, Molly, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Super pumped to be here. Hello to everybody listening.
So I just wanted to start off because I bought your book, Click Happy. Click Happy. And it's, I'm not much of a reader, to be honest with you. So
Me too,
it's
I'm a
very
listener.
rare. It's very rare for me to get through a book, but it was really easy to read. I don't want to be honest. I didn't finish it yet. I just got it last week, but it's funny in the beginning, you say something, you're like, yeah, if you really just want actionable stuff, just skip these first chapters and just go right to chapter 4. But for me, I thought that was interesting because
I wanted to be direct.
I never heard an author be like, yeah, just skip to this chapter. I talk BS here for a little while. So
That's
I thought that was interesting. But for me, like being a digital marketer, I thought the first three chapters were I connected with the most because I thought your story was really cool. Growing up in Kentucky, right?
Yeah.
And then just like working with some of the biggest names in digital marketing. So I just thought you could maybe just tell that story real quick for us.
Yeah, of course. First off, thanks for getting the book. I feel honored that you're not a reader, but you're reading.
Well, you're gonna have two non-readers reading it because I'm gonna take it from him next.
Cool.
It's also not 300, 400 pages. It's like a nice, easy, like 180 page book. So it's cool.
Yeah, we wanted it to be an easy read. And, it's interesting. Those first few chapters are my favorite and what I feel like are probably most influential. But, sometimes in your career, especially in the beginning, like you just want the information. And it's like, I don't want to hear about this person's backstory or what they think about spirituality. And so, I just wanted to speak to those people and say, here's exactly where to go. But I'm glad you enjoyed that. And yeah, my story's it's been a wild ride. Back in 2012, I moved from Kentucky, where I grew up, as you said. I worked at a bourbon distillery called Buffalo Trace in the marketing department, but had no experience with digital marketing at all. And I moved to Austin really off of a recommendation of an advisor. I had never been to Austin before. And I started bartending, just whatever I could do to get by, working with my bourbon knowledge, of course. And I saw an ad on Craigslist, which of course sounds very creepy, but some good things do come from Craigslist. And what's funny? I actually had a call with someone last week who's had a very similar story to mine. And he found his former employer from Craigslist too. So it's
funny
not
story.
just me.
I found Jason from Craigslist,
right?
Believe it or not.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're giving Craigslist a lot of business cred here.
Yeah.
Craigslist, you should sponsor this show. But yeah, I found this post, and I did have a marketing degree, but again, no experience in digital. And this ad was just really well written. Of course, it was written by marketers. And basically, it was promising this internship program where they would hire 12 to 15 interns, take us through a 3-month process where we would be paid, which was interesting to me, and where we would also learn about all of these companies that these guys were running using these like crazy new digital strategies. And that at the end, they would pick a few of us to hire full time and like place us in these certain companies. So for me, I mean, number one, I was going to get paid, which was my immediate need. I was also going to learn, and I'm super competitive. I love games. So the whole idea of the internship process, I'm like, heck yes, I'm in for this. So I was hired. That company is called Digital Marketer, founded by Ryan Deiss. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of Digital Marketer. They run Traffic and Conversion Summit, which is now over 10,000 people, a marketing conference, which is pretty wild. I think the first one I went to had hundreds. So we were counting in the hundreds. So that's really cool to see. But go through this internship process, learn a lot, was lucky to be hired full time. And that's really when Digital Marketer was becoming a company. And so I was placed with Ryan at DM, and that was kind of the start of all of this. So I think I was the third or fourth person there. Like there was a tech person and a copywriter, pretty much, and me. And so I started by doing anything and everything that I could do with the little knowledge that I had. So I was lucky to be able to like watch and kind of see what these people were doing and learn, but also say, okay, this part of it needs to be done. I need to build a members area, or let's figure out how to set up an email broadcast, or, whatever needed to be done. The first real job I had was in organic social. That's when I really fell in love with the Facebook platform. That led me to my interest in buying ads. So I went to Ryan. I said, hey, I want to learn ads. He gave me a few courses, made me promise to use that information for good, because back in the day, there was even more black hat shit than there is now, way more. And he said, like, here's my Amex, spend $1,000, bring back more than 1,000, like make more money than I gave you, essentially. And so what's funny is that the first ads that I ran were actually for a product of my now business partner, Ezra Firestone, who's been on this show. So this was back in 2012. And Digital Marketer was publishing Ezra with his first info product. So this is the first time Ezra had taught. It was called Brown Box Formula. So that was one of the first projects that I worked on. And I got to know Ezra. I built the members area for that, the forum. And that's when I really started to get into it. I'm like, wow, this stuff is interesting. The ads went well. We sold more. we made more money. We started scaling. And yeah, from there, things have just really taken off. Over the course of 5 years, I became the VP of marketing, taught a lot of, have done a lot of teaching, podcasts, courses. I left Digital Marketer in 2017.
Wow, it's been that long.
I know.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either. When I read the book, I was like, 2017. I've been listening to her talk about digital marketing for Digital Marketer on perpetual traffic for a long time.
Yeah, and I stayed on with their podcast for 2 years after I left. So it is what it is. But now I'm the CEO of Smart Marketer. Ezra chatted about Smart Marketer, I'm sure, on this show. But yeah, that's the summary.
I think it's funny how you put it too. You're like, I wanted to get a job. I didn't have any experience in digital marketing. I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, does anybody really have experience in digital marketing?
The right experience
until they actually do it? Like,
no.
Just throw themselves in it. Because we hire people and they come out with marketing degrees and we're like, so what did you learn? And they're like, and the things they spew, I'm like, what?
Hamada.
Yeah.
So you really just have to dive into it.
Yeah, I would say my marketing education, like in school, did teach me like the basics, the 4 Ps. And otherwise, yeah, I mean, I don't really see a point in going to school for marketing. Everything's available online. Like, come take our courses at Smart Marketer. But as you said, the best way to learn this stuff is by doing it. And that is why, like, those 5 years at DM, I look at them like hundreds of years of education, because it wasn't just the information I had access to, but it was the doing and the being in so many businesses and like, dealing with problems and opportunities and seeing how internet businesses that scale really quickly, like, how does that work? And so now I can take that knowledge and apply it to whatever I want to do moving forward. And that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. So it's okay. So I just want to back up a little bit, Molly, because, for me, I've been like you in this game for a really long time, and like the evolution of this digital marketing thing it's just been crazy to watch, right? Digital marketer, I feel like, was like one of the first businesses that started off with like the 4,000 word blog posts, right? No, really. I mean,
Yeah.
like that was like their thing, like, right? Like,
Yeah.
like long blog, then retarget, and that's, like the top of the funnel. You're bringing in people in with your blog, yada, yada, yada. And then like that stuff just kind of like started going away, right? Like that used to be like a huge thing. Now, and I know there are still people that are, doing the SEO thing and doing these long form blogs, but just 6 months ago, Kevin and I, or 8 months ago, started a business, and today we're spending $90,000 a month of our own money on Facebook ads. And
Awesome.
what you learn spending that kind of money compared to spending, like $200 or $300 a day, it's priceless, right? Because it's, everyone thinks it's like the tactics, the tips, the techniques, that's really just like the icing, right? Like having a good offer. That's what's really important, right? Like that's where, and it's interesting for me personally to see how this evolution went from like, everybody wanted to know the strategy. Everybody wanted to know like the techniques, and that's what digital marketer did, right? They had these long blogs about like what you should do and retargeting and top of the funnel and middle of the funnel, whatever. And like, it's just crazy to see where this has all come, right? It's like changed so much since those days. And I feel like you have been kind of like on the forefront of that. Because I feel like, for me personally, I feel like, the Pat Flynn's and the DMs and, those guys to me were like the pioneers on the blog side. And that's really where it all started.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Like it's changed a lot, but it really hasn't. So like, there's a few things I want to speak to that you said, and really well said. Like, first off, the long blog posts, for example, right? Those, or even SEO, that is something that people should absolutely still be focusing on. A lot of that work at Digital Marketer was done by Russ Henneberry, who everybody should check out if you're interested in content marketing, SEO. Russ was our editorial director at Digital Marketer. So he was over all of the content marketing, all of the product. What was interesting at DM is I got to watch Russ and his efforts with SEO and how that really paid off over time. And for example, the first few years, we basically had no SEO because we weren't blogging or we weren't, paying attention to keywords, and like we weren't structuring our pages in a way that Google could even index. And by the end of my time there, let's say that we were generating about 500,000 visitors to our site every month from paid traffic. We had just as many visitors coming through SEO, and they were completely free, right? And let's say the others cost $1 a piece. So this is something like at Smart Marketer right now, this is a huge project for us where we're actually bringing Russ in to make sure we're structured correctly, and that, any of our content marketing efforts, we are, generating traffic, that is paying off. So I just want to say that, like, number one, that used to be not the only, but that was the most popular mechanism to drive traffic. It's definitely like number 4 or 5 probably on my list now. Like if you were to give me a brand new brand, I would obviously build the paid traffic side out first because you can control that, right? It's like a water faucet. Of course, you're going to do that. But there's still a place for SEO if you know what you're doing. But what you were talking about in regards to the strategies that we used to teach of with paid traffic, sending to an article first and then retargeting, I don't do a ton of that in that order any longer, but the strategy is still the same in regards to, with Smart Marketer, it's an info business. So all of our cold traffic offers we do use pre-sells. So they're built to sell something right in the article. So it's not as much of a click to read, and then we're only relying on the retargeting to make the sale. That article still converts at 5 to 10%, which is awesome. But a lot of what we're doing top of funnel as an info business, of course, is, lead magnets. So asking people to opt in for a free course, et cetera, which is, I'm sure as Ezra talked about, not too dissimilar to what we're doing with Boom and selling makeup and physical products. 95% of our cold traffic goes to a pre-sale article. So it's almost identical to what we were doing 8 years ago, just like a slight change. So I guess what I'm saying is like, in marketing, at least in my tenure, and I'm sure this will change, but if I look back hundreds of years, it hasn't really changed that much. Of course, the channels are going to change, right? We've seen that. And a lot of the ways that we engage with people will change, but the thought process is still exactly the same, right? Show up, be interesting, give value first, whatever that means to you, whatever that looks like for your brand, build that trust with them, and then seamlessly transition into the pitch for your product or service or whatever that next step is. So yeah, and I went down a rabbit hole there, but
no, it's funny. We had it on the agency side of our business. We just had a call yesterday.
I was going to just say this.
You were just going to say the same thing.
I was going to say the same thing.
And it was a conversation about a guy who's trying to generate leads or, people to his car wash, a local car wash. We're like, okay, cool. We had this whole discussion with him. And then he's like, oh, by the way, I got a restaurant. And he started spewing this information about this random restaurant. And then he starts asking us, he's like, what kind of experience do you have with restaurants? And we're like,
and I said to him, like, dude, like we have a multi-million-dollar info product. We have a $50 million cosmetic company. We have a $7 million local client. It's all the same. We do the same thing. It doesn't matter what we're selling. It's the same thing over and over and over. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Just slight tweaks. I mean, I would say that local marketing is the easiest. You guys know that. I would say that selling physical products is the second easiest. And a lot of that is just because second easiest. I don't know if that's a phrase. Yeah, it is now. And especially from an ad perspective, just because you can actually show it, right? Like with Boom and the makeup, the fact that we can actually show the product, there's just an understanding of the benefit of said product and what the product does. That isn't the case with selling software or selling information, which to me are the most difficult. But yes, they're all the same. Like, it's just little tweaks.
Yeah, I mean, the local business it's a water treatment company. We give out a free water test. So they come to the house, they give a free water test. Our wildlife photography business, that's a multi-million-dollar info business, we give away a free issue, right? It's most of it's followed up by email. That's the other side of it. But yeah, I mean, it's all the same.
Yeah.
I don't care what we're selling. It's all the same.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
And that's interesting. And I said that to the guy. I'm like, dude, it doesn't matter.
Well, I think that people think students always, or not always, but a lot of people believe that their situation is different, or like my business is different. A lot of our customer support team at Smart Marketer, they spend a lot of their time answering questions like that, like, will this course work for me because I sell physical products or because I'm a local business? So, that's really common. I think that for some reason it feels more different, especially if you don't have that experience that you're talking about. I mean, what's interesting about digital marketing is there's kind of two ways to look at it. You can either look at it like, I'm going to learn this like I would learn biology, and I'm going to consume all of this information, which is really important. And I'm almost going to memorize it. So, when I'm setting up a Facebook campaign, Molly said to use this objective and do this. Like, a lot of people want to memorize in that way. And that's good. You need a little bit of that. But if you can think about it another way, which is more like you are developing a skill set. So you're a carpenter and you're able to build everything from furniture to houses and, maybe even boats, who knows? And when you're going to do those things, because you have the experience and because you have developed this as an actual skill set, not just like a memorization, then things change because it's like, okay, I'm going to start building this thing. Well, what is it? Like what tools do I need like to build this specific boat? What materials do I need? Yeah, it's the same concept as if I'm building a house, but some things are going to be a little bit different. So I don't know if that analogy makes sense, but if you look at it that way, and that is learned through experience, right? And still learning can be good because you can learn through other people's experiences, of course. But when this is more of a skill set that you're just naturally, like, you know what to do, you know what tools to use, you know what supplies to use and what order, that's when this becomes a lot more fun. And I think that is the goal.
Also, yeah. And the other thing is like, cause we also have a Facebook course that we're teaching, and
Awesome.
I'm trying to make the course as evergreen as possible. And one of the things I say is like,
Almost
look,
impossible.
yeah, it's almost impossible. But I say like, look, this is what's worked for us.
Yeah.
You have to test your own shit. Like,
Totally.
figure out what works for you. I can tell you to do a 1-day click conversion window.
Yeah.
That worked for us. It may not work for you. I have clients that it doesn't work for. So I'm going to show you how we do it, what's worked for us. But you have to figure this out for yourself. I can't tell you what's going to work for your business. And I think that's like a huge misconception from people is like, they just want to, like you said, they just want to be told, do this, do that. And then magically money is going to start flowing in their account. It doesn't work that way.
I wish it was that easy.
Yeah. I mean, so do we, but it's not reality. And, you know, you've worked with big brands and you know what that side of things look like. You know, we were talking with Ezra where like the amateur Facebook person who's spending $100 a day thinks that when they're spending $5,000 a day, they're going to get a 10x return.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you can get like a 1.2, 1.3, 1.5x return, you're making a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of that too is because of the expectations that have been set by the gurus in this market, you know, and I partly take responsibility for that, but I can't really blame people when most of the ads I see in my newsfeed are from the digital marketing industry, you know, and the language you mostly hear is around money or return on ad spend. So it's like, look how I did this with this 10x, return on ad spend. And so people like, then that is the only thing they're optimizing. Like there's no other context. It's just like, okay, I need to get 10x because that's what so-and-so said, right? Or that's what this person did with no context of the industry, how much is spent. Like this, I can go on a huge rant about this, but I get really frustrated about this part of our industry because that does not speak to scale in any way, right? Like if you tell me you have a 10 return on ad spend, it's like, cool. It sounds like you're making like a bit of money. Like hopefully you're making a bit of profit. Like good for you, but like, let's speak to volume, right? Like scale is truly about volume, whatever it is that you're doing in that campaign. Of course, you need to figure out like, where do you need to be from a return on ad spend standpoint based off of the economics of your business. Maybe you're choosing to lose a bit of money. Maybe you're choosing to break even. Maybe you need to make a little bit, whatever. That's up to you. Like that's math, right? Yeah. But scale is just knowing that and then saying my job is to acquire as many of these as possible, as many leads as possible, as many customers as possible. Because I would much rather, and you guys would too, acquire 5,000 customers at a 1.2 return on ad spend, right? Than 500 customers at a 10. Right. And most people would actually choose the second option because of this sort of obsession with return on ad spend and lack of understanding of what it actually takes to scale a business, which isn't always about the return on ad spend. It's much more about the acquisition of attention and leads and customers and everything that you guys know. That's how you exponentially grow a business over time. So anyways,
it's funny that I'm sorry. Did you have more?
No. I just feel passionate about that. And that's a lot like with our students too. Like I try to teach that as much as possible and make sure that they understand like the goal with scale is not the return on ad spend.
No.
You know, like anytime I see that, it immediately almost discredits that person for me, because it's like, oh, that's there's a lack of understanding here. So
Yeah, and
thank you
it's
guys
fun.
for letting me
It's
rant.
funny,
No,
no, it's
no.
funny you mentioned it that way as like the guru, because for the longest time you were my guru. Like I didn't come from a digital marketing background. Like I was a graphic designer and I did web design, and then Jason
Cool.
and I got together, and the first book that he gave me was the Ryan Dice book, what was it called, Jason?
Invisible Selling Machine.
Invisible Selling Machine. So
Yeah.
that, you know, led me to Digital Marketer, and that led me to Perpetual Traffic, which was your podcast for a long time. So I would listen to you and Ralph, and there was
Keith
another,
Krantz, right?
yeah,
Keith?
the three of you talk, and I would come in and be like, Jason, they talked about this, so we got to start doing this. Like they are making all kinds of money, and he's like, well, did they mention how much they're spending? Did they mention how many times they lost money on this? Like, no, they just said they're making a ton. Let's do this. And as an amateur, like I was, you know, when we first started, you know, you don't know any better, and that's kind of where that's part of the business goes with the whole gurus
And scaling is tough. Like, you know, it's not just like spend more money.
No,
you know,
it's never that.
No,
and it's not about hacks either. Like that is one of the biggest misconceptions. Like most people come to our like Train My Traffic Person mentorship, which is a 4-month mentorship. We teach twice a year. It's live because, like we said earlier, there's one part of this, which is consuming the information, and then there's the application. And a lot of people struggle taking the knowledge and applying it to their business. So we want to make sure we're there to answer questions and help them actually apply it, because they get better results that way. But a lot of people come to the mentorship for scaling, right? They're like, I can't, and scaling is on like week 10 or something. And people get impatient about this. And the reason for that is that they believe, let's say they're spending $100 to $5,000 a month or a week even. Great. But they believe that there is some sort of scaling hack or system that they're missing. And like, yeah, there are best practices that I teach, of course, for how to actually tactically scale, increasing the budgets, creating new ad sets, campaigns, all of that. But that is like 5% of scaling. It truly is. Scaling is really about mastering the campaign building process, right? Creating offers, figuring out your avatars and targeting, copy, creative, the like boring marketing 101 stuff that a lot of people feel that they are like above or past in some way. So they're looking for these crazy tactics, like let's duplicate a campaign and then like do a backflip, and then we're gonna like flip to like this type of bidding, and like, whoa, I don't see, yeah, that might work for a few weeks, but like nobody wants to live in that world. Like that is stressful. Scaling should come through what I was just talking about, the creation of new offers, the finding of new audiences that you can scale out to, the creation of new ads. Like that is 95% of scaling. So anyways, that's how I feel.
and you know, it's funny you say that, because that's the kind of stuff that people just don't want to do. Like I tell Kevin all the time, like I sit in front of my computer and I literally am going through Facebook profiles and seeing like pages or similar pages. I'm researching to see, like, because you know, when we're spending $3,000 a day, it's hard to go from that to $10,000 a day or
with the same audience, same ads.
You can't just keep doing it, right? You got to come up with different things. And that's what we're struggling with right now, is like, we're in this niche, this wildlife photography niche. I'm sorry, I don't know if you guys hear my dog. He's like nuts.
He's just joining the combo.
Yeah, he's telling me to shut up and just scale. But, you know, we're in this little niche, this wildlife photography niche, and it's a very small knit group. And like I said, in 8 months, we're going to hit $2 million-ish. And we're figuring out or learning that, like, we have to come up with other offers. We have to come up with other bait to bring different people in, because you keep running that same offer, you know, you're only going to attract one person. You're only going to be, you know, interesting to one kind of person, but different offers, positioning the offer in a different way. We have a free issue, a free journal issue. We have a photo contest. We have all these different pieces that, because you only can scale two ways from the way everybody else thinks, right? Money and audience, right?
Yeah.
Those are really,
and there's so much more there. Like, Jason, let me use Boom as an example, because they're a great example of this. And it shows you that even at like grand scale, this is still true, what we're discussing. So in 2000, what are we now? 2020. Okay. That's scary.
Trying to forget this year.
Yeah.
Right,
Whoa. In 2019, Boom was spending about $15,000 a day on Facebook, which is a good amount of money. Like, that's pretty big scale. And going into 2020, we always do a year-end audit. And two things that we identified that are true for all of us is that the biggest ways we were going to scale was nothing to do with campaign structure and everything to do with new audiences and new copy and creative. So just to tell you the after here, in 2020, the first 4 months, like, these have been amazing months for Boom. I'm sure Ezra talked about that. We had one Facebook campaign where we spent like $2 million, return was $3 million. We acquired 36,000 customers, really insanely scaled campaign. And number one, it was the same offer. That's going to come later. That's what we're testing now, is new offers. It was the same offer we've been using for 5 years, 5 makeup tips for women over 50.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And so we haven't even scaled on that yet in where I am with this story. All we were focusing on is audience and copy and creative. So let's start with the audience. Before this, Boom had mostly relied on broad targeting, lookalikes, and pretty broad interests, because they're reaching women over the age of 50. Like, this is a broad audience. And most Facebook advertisers, they're obsessed with what works best. And a lot of times, as you guys know, when your pixel has a lot of data, Facebook really knows what your customer looks like. Broad, no targeting in an ad set can work best. A group of lookalike audience can work best. And so the assumption is, okay, so we're going to focus all of our budget here because these interests, they don't work as good, right? So they're bad. That is a really not a good way to think of that, guys, because even though your CPA might be higher on these other targeting, as long as they're below whatever your success metric is, as long as they're meeting your success metric, they are there for volume, right? Like we were talking about earlier, volume. So a big focus for us was exactly what you were saying, Jason, research, which interest targeting research is one of my favorite topics to teach, and just one of my favorite things to do in an account. And so I spent about 10 hours on the phone with my mom, in Amazon reviews, searching Google for where are women over the age of 50 hanging out. And we have this Google Doc of hundreds of different actors and actresses that, only those generations would be familiar with. I mean, interests like JFK, clothing brands that women over 50 shop with. I mean, we went down the rabbit hole. And you would think, oh, well, no targeting is working so well. Like, why would you ever do that? And you do that for horizontal scale. So we did this. I gave this list to Boris, the media buyer. On the other hand, we also really upped the game with copy and creative, very native, which has always worked, but is working better than ever. Lots of social proof, lots of just iPhone video that looks like an average person. That's a whole other rabbit hole we can go down. But we upped our game in that, still the same offer. And just those two changes, y'all, that was 15 to 30K a day. We were able to scale from 15 to 30K a day just on Facebook with Boom, just because of both of those actions, right? Because number one, I think the top 9 out of 10 ad sets were interest targeting when it came to volume of results. So a lot of those interests worked very well. And although we still had broad targeting, we still had lookalikes, but something for people to understand is, when you're only relying on that type of targeting, yes, Facebook is going to go after people and show ads to people that do look most like your customer. but sometimes that can be to your disadvantage because you can be missing a part of the market that might convert, but for some reason just doesn't look like previous purchasers based off of Facebook's data. So this interest targeting, think about it like we're like searching Amsterdam where I live for something, right? And like there's a map, and we, based off of the hints, like we've circled this certain area of town where it's like this thing we're looking for, we really think it's here. You know? Yeah. And this is, again, probably not, I'm making this up off the top of my head, but so when you're relying on Facebook to go find customers for you, it's like, cool, we want to play in this area. But what if that thing is not in that area? You know, like what if there are customers outside of that specific area? A lot of what interest targeting allows you to do is get in front of those people. And also with interest targeting, if you find these random interests and you do the research and you find the ones that no one else is targeting, that changes who you're competing against in the auction, right? Yeah. So if you're competing against less people, if you're able to rank higher, you're going to have higher reach. You're going to have less costs. You're going to pay less for your ads. So anyways, I think a big lesson here is like, even with like, you know, ultimate big time scale with Boom going from 15K a day to 30K a day, that was by not even creating new offers, right? Like since then, we have started to create new offers and we're scaling in that way, but just by finding new audiences and creating new ads. I mean, look at the scale we were able to obtain with the exact same campaign structure, exact same scaling hacks and tactics that we've always used.
So yeah, I just wanted to like put a little disclaimer on that, Molly, if you don't mind, because you know I've learned. If you ask Kevin, like I'm a very bold speaker, and I say things as if there is only one way. But I think something that's really important about what you're saying is because I know on our end, we have this wildlife photography subscription and we have been annoying our business partner to death. Like, dude, we need other products.
Yeah, you need other avatars too. Like that type of business, because it's so niche. I mean, you all do what you want, but like, I'm starting to think like, okay, how do you take that and go after other photography niches? Even?
Yeah. And that's like,
sorry. Just with a market that small, very similar to the digital marketing industry. I mean, you're confined to the number of people that are interested in said thing, you know?
Right. Yeah.
It's also thinking about what are other offers if this is something you guys would want to do that would turn people into wildlife photographers, like maybe go after people that would want that to become a hobby. Like it once you reach the entirety of your market, you either need to go after another market or you need to figure out a way to convert people that aren't already a part of that market into being interested in said thing.
Or sell them other things. You know, that's another thing.
Absolutely.
And what I wanted to say is that, you know, the thing about Boom is like you have a lot of products, right? So, you know, you're just trying to get people in the door, right? Because then you're going to sell them other things. And if you're at a 1x return, you spend $1, you get $1 back, you know, on the back end, at some point, you're going to make that money. Our wildlife photography thing is like, we have one subscription, right? It's like a yearly, actually we have two, a yearly and a lifetime subscription. So it's a little more difficult for us because we can't just spend to get them in because I have nothing else to sell them. Like, and that's a problem. And that's something that we're working on. We're trying to figure that out. But I just wanted the audience to, you know, like understand the distinction there. Like, if you have multiple products, you don't always have to be profitable on the front end. You can certainly lose a little bit of money, or you can certainly get just your money back because you know later on you're gonna, you know, try to sell them. And in the Boom's case, that certainly works. We're struggling with that a little bit right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I mean that is something I should have talked about with scale too. I don't know if Dan Kennedy or Ryan Dice said this first, but he or she who is able to spend more to acquire a customer will win. And that's completely true. And it's something that it's not just who has the most money, it's who has the highest average order value / lifetime value that will afford you to pay the highest CPA to acquire the customer. So not as much from 2019 to 2020, like what I was just talking about, but like from 2015 to 2020, a big reason Boom has been able to scale is Ezra's gotten a lot better at increasing his average order value through upsells, through other products. They've got systems for, running promotions, increasing lifetime value. Like you're saying, we just launched a new mascara. That's why June was the best month on company history, was the launch of this new product. So that is absolutely true. And it's all about figuring out, based off of what you have right now, how much can you pay to acquire a customer? Like that is always the guiding metric.
Oh, Molly, people have no idea.
We're in more of a similar boat to you, where we have less products. The product line isn't as built out with Boom. So with a business like that, a lot of times we're buying traffic based off of like a cost per lead basis, because we know what our email list is worth to us. And it will get more sophisticated as we build out more acquisition funnels and things like that. But yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, because it's not just being able to pay more for like a click or something like that. It's not just the person who has the most money. That's not what we're saying.
No.
It's those that, like, number one, have the best acquisition funnels and the best backend to allow you to spend more, but still profitably, hopefully.
And you need time to evaluate those things. I mean, with our business,
it takes time.
Yeah,
it takes time.
We had a free download. It was like an article that we put in a PDF, and we stopped running that like a month ago. And we were just looking at the numbers. I'm like, these people are still buying that have signed up for this old PDF. So without that data, without that lifetime value, it's really hard to decide how much you can actually spend to acquire a customer.
Yes. And look, guys, if you are doing good marketing and your ads are in front of the right people, your messaging is right, like your ads are always doing more for you than whatever you see in a dashboard. Think about this. Only in the last really 10 to 15 years has true measurable direct response marketing even necessarily been a thing, maybe direct mail was that way, but in terms of tracking, right? Like tracking still isn't perfect because humans are not robots. Like you said, there are people that downloaded your PDF last year that are now just buying. That's not being attributed to a Facebook campaign. So, a lesson there, that's such a good point, is that it's good to be in it. Like, of course, we all love to nerd out and be like 1.2 return on ad spend. Like, this is great. But you also have to balance that with an understanding of the halo effect, and that if I'm doing good work, like more is going to come of this than what I can see in the dashboard. And that's always fun. Because we can turn ads off right now, and for weeks we would still see sales come in.
Right.
You guys are the same. For Boom, for months they would see sales come in. So It's like, that shows you alone. It's why a lot of people who have a Shopify store and sell on Amazon, they're like, Molly, I'm running Facebook ads and my Amazon sales go up, but then I can't track it. So I turn my ads off and the sales go down. And like, that makes me want to cry.
Yeah. It's so typical though, I know you're short on time here, Molly, and we can probably go for another 2 hours. But two things I want to mention, because what you just said is just amazing. What's interesting to me is, because Kevin and I deal with this, is like, we'll have clients that'll spend $150,000 on a mailer to get back 10 grand, but we can't spend 10 grand on Facebook with them. Like I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense to me. They'll spend $150,000 on a mailer to get back 10,000, but like I can't. It's like, do you deal with that too?
Totally. And what it is, and I've got 10 more minutes too, 15-ish even. What it is that it's almost the accessibility to the tracking and the data biting those people in the ass, right? Because it's like, because it's there, they expect to see some sort of return, right? And if the expectation isn't met, which is why people choose to be happy or sad in a lot of ways, if the expectation isn't met, then Facebook is bad, or Zuckerberg sucks, or like whatever else. So, that I see that all the time and it blows my mind, but it's a mindset thing. It's absolutely a mindset thing.
It really is. And it's funny because we deal with it. And it's just funny that you said that because, I had one of my students, he wrote me an email. I was like, Jason, I love the course. He's like, but I turned my ads off, and he like sent me a screenshot. He spent $79 and he got back 320. And I'm like, why did you do that? He's like, well, the last day everything went down. I'm like, dude, like, I mean, you're not, every day is not going to be the same, but like the difference between Jason running ads like a couple of years ago and Jason running ads like now, I look at one thing, honestly, I look at cost of acquisition. Like I need to know where that is because I know what my lifetime value is of a customer. I don't look at how much it costs for a click. I don't look how much
that changes. People get so caught up, and you also can't treat it like a day trading platform any longer.
Kevin?
I mean, not that like with Boom, of course, spending $30K a day, we're looking in there every day, but we're not touching stuff, right? Like that is like the biggest mistake Facebook advertisers are making today. The platform is more sophisticated than it's ever been, and it's meant to not be touched, right? No. Like we touch campaigns, we don't really turn ads off anymore. Like you got to let Facebook do its thing. And if you're interfering because you want to treat it like a day trading platform and you want to turn shit off because today isn't working and then turn it back off in the morning, like you can get by on that for a little bit, but not only is it stressful, it also just works against how Facebook works. And it's also not taking into account again that there are humans on the other side of these ads. Like their day-to-day looks very different throughout a week. Like if you're not running a campaign for at least a week, you're not getting a full idea of the full potential of that campaign.
You're not seeing any trends. Yeah, no, you're not seeing any trends. You're not seeing, like, we absolutely see certain days do better than others. We don't just turn the ads off the day. Right. I mean, we let
That's
them
what
run.
I do. I have a very bad trigger finger when it comes to that stuff.
I lock them out. I don't let them come in. I say, stay the fuck out of the ads. I don't even want you anywhere near it.
The worst thing that happens is I'll start a campaign and I'll start an ad set and I'll watch it like a hawk, like just because I'm crazy and I can't help myself.
Right.
And I'll see it's not working and I'll spend like however many $100 or whatever. And I'm like, oh, it hasn't got an order yet, and I'll turn it off. And then I'll come back in the next day like a lunatic, and I'll see that there's a friggin' order on the friggin' thing.
Yeah, right.
Because the guy didn't come back, he didn't buy it till the next day.
Right. And then you'll try to turn it back on, and it usually
doesn't work.
Go back to where it was.
Molly, right, this is why, this is not a lie. This is a true story, 100% accurate. I don't let him in, like our accounts. Like we get like a new client with Klaviyo. I say, stay the hell out. Do not go near it. I'm not giving you the password. And
but 3 years ago plus, that is what it takes. So, that's what it took. Like, right. I get it, but it's just not, anyone that I see buying ads like that nowadays is stressed out. Yeah. No. And it's why we even look really at a week's worth of data at a time. Like we look at a full week. What's the CPA? What's the return on ad spend? Because even looking at things day to day, it's just, that's not how consumers are operating.
No. And Molly, the other thing that needs to be, considered is that when you're running like, let's say like a lead magnet, or you're, like those orders aren't coming in until a little bit like down the line. So like, you can't look at it day to day, because if you're giving them a lead magnet and then selling them on the back end, that ad is not going to give you credit for a sale that happens in 3 or 4 days.
I mean, one of our best campaigns for Smart Marketer right now is a free 7-day Facebook class. So it's a video series. It's a opt-in. We drip the videos out over a week, and then we go into a $500 off flash sale for Train My Traffic Person Evergreen that lasts for a week. So it's a 2-week funnel, for them to even get to the true scarcity of that one product, like let alone maybe they buy another Smart Marketer product. So on those types of campaigns, we're always looking at the data, especially monthly on the marketing call. Our CMO, John, he was the data analyst at Digital Marketer. We worked together. And then when I left, he came over and worked with Smart Marketer, which has been really cool. He's a really special guy. And he is monthly, weekly, pulling the actual CRM data to say, okay, guys, like, are we break even? Here's the actual return on ad spend from this campaign. But our media buyer inside of Facebook is using cost per lead as her success metric, right? Like, we're making sure we're not losing our ass on the back end weekly and definitely monthly. But for a campaign like that, because like you said, the sale doesn't happen for 2 weeks at least. Right. I can't have her running that campaign based off of return on ad spend because it doesn't make sense. So,
well, your KPIs though, right? You guys have KPIs
but also you can't measure, this is a mistake a lot of people are making, is they try to measure every campaign in their ad account off of return on ad spend or off of cost per acquisition. And that's not a reflection of the journey,
No,
so
we just did it today.
Yeah, a lot of top of funnel, especially for info, it's like, I would be doing myself a disservice through scale wise to say we're only measuring this off of this one number, because everything we talked about earlier with the halo effect.
Well, even to Jason's about the client we're talking about who like would spend thousands and thousands of dollars on direct mail, like, and trying to move them over to a digital. I'm trying to I feel like I'm trying to sell them on it, but to think about there being a human on the other side, like you said, I tried to explain to them, like, what do you do when you get a piece in the mail, like a catalog? You open it up, you look through it, you put it down. You find it a couple days later, you pick it up, you look through it again, and you put it down.
You might even be on vacation and not get the piece of mail for weeks.
Right, exactly. And I think the same thing happens with digital. You see it, you see the ad, you go about your day or whatever, and you come back, you see it again, and you're like, oh, okay, a little bit more. And it's kind of the same concept.
That is exactly why you have to send an email a day. And don't worry if you're going to annoy people, because they didn't see the first 3 that you sent, because you sent it at a time that they were brushing their hair or, going to the bathroom or whatever the hell they were doing. And then you happen to get them. And that's why when we send our emails, Molly, and I know we're going to wrap up here, we stagger them. Sometimes I'll do them in the morning, and then other times I'll do them at night. I'll try during the day, because different, people have different.
Well, and people are just interested in different things, like, just because your entire market's into yoga and you're selling yoga stuff doesn't mean that they're all interested in yoga for the same reasons, or that they're all interested in having the same online experience. Some want to read articles, some want to watch videos, some want to opt into a lead magnet. So it's the struggle of like the modern digital marketer. I guess we're all modern, but the current day digital marketer is balancing all of this really nerdy, cool stuff we get to do with the fact that there are still humans on the other side. And also realizing that there is no one who is consuming your message as much as you think they are.
Oh, I love
right?
it.
Like you said, sometimes you need to talk about the same thing in 5 different ways. It's why, okay, I just got off a call. In 2 weeks, we're going to close an offer that we have, like raise the price. We're basically running like a email promotion. Okay. So of course we'll have at least 5 emails, and they will all talk about different aspects of the product. They're all going to be about the same product, but we know that there are different reasons. There are different things that we're going to say that some might resonate with you, Jason, and some might resonate with you, Kevin. Like, that is scale. Scale is not hacks.
We send the same email. I just duplicate it or clone it to the same people, as long as they didn't buy. And every time I send an email, it never makes $0. So what does that tell you? I'm sending it to the same people. I'm sending the same exact email to them at a different time or a different day or whatever, and I'm making sales. All that tells me is that first email that I sent, people are not consuming it like I'm doing, right? Like, I'm looking at my stuff. It's like the hardest thing to get.
People just fall so in love with their own product. You just sometimes can't get them out of that.
Or you just get so close to it, like, I totally get that. It's why I love bringing outside, like I said, that Russ Hinneberry was helping us with something, because, I'm even too close to smart marketer stuff already. So it's like, when you work in something day to day, it is good to have that outside perspective, whether it's the voice of the customer or a consultant or whatever. because sometimes it does feel like, whoa, I've said this 100 times. There's no way this is going to work. But it's not just what you said, Jason. It's also the fact that, especially if you're buying media, or if you have some sort of organic traffic source, if your audience is consistently growing, your market is also, it's turning over, right? So it's like, you send the same email today that you sent a month ago. Not that I always recommend that, but it's like, there are new people that have never heard that message before. So that's always important to keep in mind, is most of your audiences are changing every minute. So sometimes, in your mind, you're like, whoa, well, everybody's been around for 10 years. And that's not
right.
true.
And that's, that email list is a whole other thing, Molly, we can get into. Obviously we don't have the time, but this was awesome. I as we're sitting here talking, right? Like, you guys do a Facebook thing, we do a Facebook thing. And I'm sitting here thinking about, like, how threatened I am by you guys having your own course, right? And because I feel like you can never learn too much. Like, you could take my course and then take your course. And like, I feel like people can learn just by the delivery of how the course is being taught. I mean, shit, like, we're doing, $200K a month or whatever. And I have no problem going and seeing what the hell you guys are doing. I mean, and it's just nice that there could be that in this industry, because I don't think any one person quite knows every little thing about every little thing, right? So,
and like I said, this is a skill set, and there's room for anybody who's willing to do good work, and that's coming from like a place of service in the industry, 100%, and there always will be. And a way that, we kind of do ourselves disservice by calling them courses. It's why I train my traffic person as a mentorship, or at least one aspect of it is, because it's not just information. It's like the skill set analogy that I was talking about earlier. Like, I'm passing down my experiences to these students. So it's like, they're paying for the knowledge, but they're also paying for, all of the clients, like every experience I've had in an ad account, not only in examples, but just distilled through my information. And so it's like, going to you, even if we taught the exact same best practices, just seeing your examples and buying that experience from you guys is worth it. So yeah. I don't believe there is competition in this market, really. And that's the fun part about it.
Okay. So that being said, why don't you tell everybody where they can get your book? Because I would highly recommend, even though I haven't read it, I've yeah. followed you. So where can people get it?
You can search Amazon for Click Happy. You can also go to Molly Pittman, MOLLYPITTMAN.com /book. And that page is, once you buy on Amazon, or you can also buy on Barnes & Noble online, you can take your confirmation number and input it into that page. And there's actually a free course that comes with my book too, called Balance Being. And this is myself, Ezra, our COO, Colleen Taylor, who was also my first boss at Digital Marketer. That's a discussion for another time.
She brought everybody over there.
No, well, she was working with Ezra way before me. And John Grimshaw, our CMO. And this is a set of interviews that we recorded a few months ago, right before COVID in New York at Ezra's Barn. And it's all about not business. So basically how we maintain balance and communication and team structure. And
Kevin should take that. Kevin, take it.
Well, I have Kevin? It. I bought the book. I got the free course.
No, but you need that course.
Don't tell Molly that I'm going to share the course with you and the book.
I'll buy my own. What's the difference?
Jason, I think you would like it too. So yeah, grab that. And there are lots of other bonuses, like the Booms targeting sheet that I was just telling you guys about, like the hundreds of interests that we found and how that went down. That's a free resource with the book. Anyways, just grab the book if you feel called, but check us out, smartmarketer.com.
Yeah, definitely. If you guys are not familiar with Molly, she's been one of the pioneers that I've been following, obviously, in the background, and I've never met you before. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking with you and getting to know you a little bit. Because obviously I've only seen you in ads and digital marketer, and it's been really nice.
Now I see you with Ezra all the time.
Yeah,
every time I go on
Facebook. Well, there's more of that coming. So
awesome. Good luck. I mean, I wish you a lot of luck. I mean, I really liked Ezra. I really like his mission. I like how he, one thing that I like that he says, he talks about having balance, like you said, because like I'm totally like that. This guy over here, the other guy, Kevin, he's completely annoying. He's a control freak.
Well, that's why I connected with her first few chapters, is because she talks about how like she's working 16 hours a day. She's staring at ads all the time. She's driving herself nuts. So
right.
Yeah,
I totally get that. Yeah.
And then Kevin and I, just so you know, we are like the complete antithesis of each other. And that's kind of why we can't leave, because like I'm like,
you balance one another out.
Right,
oh,
exactly.
dude, I am like all over the place, and he is like structured and and he's like, hey, we got a call today at 11. I'm like, I thought it was at 1. And I know he gets mad at me. He's like, what the fuck? This guy doesn't even pay attention. It's 11. Like, I'm just not like that. I'm in my
just
little
a
world
roundabout
here.
way for him to say that he needs me. So go ahead, just say you need me.
And you guys work together well. And that's been like one of the many great lessons that I've learned through working with Ezra. Like, he lives that every day too. So yeah, it's just, we've always got to keep in perspective why we're doing this. Of course, there are busy seasons, but yeah, some of us, not you, Jason, can go down a rabbit hole that doesn't always lead to a healthy place.
He's just trying to figure out when his next round of golf is. That's all.
Yeah.
No, because like Molly, I mean, honestly, my dream since like 17 years ago was to like create a business that I didn't have to be like attached to at 20, like from 9 to 5, obviously, and 24/7. Like, I think about this shit 24/7. I'm always thinking about it. But if I want to go outside and hang out with my son and play hockey at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, I don't want to be bothered by anybody. That's what I want to do.
And that's probably the biggest reason I wrote Click Happy, specifically for people that aren't in this industry yet, to really understand the opportunity that lies here, not just in the ability to make money or like excel in your career quickly, because this is all new stuff. And also because it's easy to be an entrepreneur if you know the digital marketing, but also just the lifestyle opportunity, and not like necessarily 4-hour work week. I'm not knocking that. I mean, I think that's been a really influential concept, but like, yeah, just freedom. I think
Dude,
that
you left the US and you're in Amsterdam and you're not going to miss a beat. Right? Like, you have your computer, you have your laptop. But sorry, look, we're taking up all your time. And I'm sorry. I know you have something.
No worries.
You got to get out of here. Thank you so much. We truly appreciate it. Yeah. And good luck with everything. Guys, check out smartmarketer.com, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And you can
mollypittman.com/book.
Yeah, grab her book. 100%, guys. Got to grab it.
Yeah.
Thanks, y'all. Thank
you
having
so much, Molly.
Thanks, Molly. Appreciate it. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye. All right. That was awesome. I really enjoyed that. She was great.
Yeah, I really like geeking out with people like her.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just nice. I said that we kind of like stay to ourselves, but like, it makes me think like, maybe we should get out there more. Maybe we should be in the community more. Maybe we should be interacting with people who go through the same things that we're going through.
Yeah.
Because, maybe it's a mastermind, Kev. Maybe we get into a mastermind somewhere at this point,
Yeah, that would be cool. I mean, the perception of people like Molly and Ezra, you never know. Like, for us, like, we see Ezra, we see Molly in our Facebook feed. They're constantly, promoting their courses and stuff. And then when we get down to talk to them, like, it's just a really great conversation. And I've really enjoyed both of them.
And it's funny because like the way you think that they are, and then like you kind of talk with them, and it's just like,
they're going through the same stuff. You're right. I think we do have to put ourselves out there a little bit more. It's just not in our personalities. And Molly Pittman, in her book, Click Happy, she talks about that. She's like, we didn't talk about this, but in her book, she talks about how Ryan Dice, when she first started work with him, had her put together a presentation for the client, or the summit. I forget the name of it, Traffic and Conversion Summit or something. Yeah. I can't remember, but she finished it and she thought it was great. She presented it to him and he's like, okay, now you're going to do it. She just like put her out there, and she was like freaking out, obviously freaked out, but it was like, that was like the start of her whole, like, feeling comfortable with it. And I think that's part of what we deal with. We just have to do it. We just have to put ourselves, well, you don't as much as me. Like, you can fucking talk to this dog over here and for
no,
hours.
but I mean, I think also it comes down to like, did we ever want to spend $1,000 to go to like a summit? But now I think we're in the position where we can, comfortably do that. And I think that maybe we should do a little bit more.
Yeah. And it gets
when they come back,
and we can, and we go on trips, which is
once
the better part of it, in Vegas and stuff like that.
Right.
So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was awesome. This has been episode 176.
Don't forget to go to Klaviyo. Klaviyo.com.
That's right. I forgot about
Klaviyo.com/uncensored. Sign up for free, first 250 subscribers, and go to ecommerceuncensored.com/truth and get on our Facebook beta list.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening. This has been episode 176, and we'll talk to you guys real soon.
Later.